New feature on StreamYards. Let me get rid of this. How are y'all doing tonight? I am Willy Bragg. Welcome to another edition of the Willy Bragg Show. I hope everybody's doing well this evening. And we'll start with the here on the chat line. We have Kamishwari Kate. Finally, I can attend the Willy Bragg Show, and always glad to see you here, Kate. And Warren, how are you? He says, "Make America go away." Now that's a MAGA I can live with. Well, especially with the current right-wing incarnation of America right now. I mean, it's pretty damn bleak out there. So, an old Supreme Court ruling grants Pass versus Johnson. It is against the law to be homeless in the United States. And where I stand on that is I wouldn't have any problem with making it unlawful to be homeless if we are guaranteed housing to everyone. That is a very simple answer. Guaranteed shelter to every American person in this country. It's amazing how people don't get it, you know? Yeah, amazing. You see, Eureka City Council, they're having the hearing no camping ordinance, make it a misdemeanor to sit down on a sidewalk in the city. This went on to in the morning. I think, let's see, Eureka City, they're having a hearing no camping ordinance, making a misdemeanor. If you're referring to, well, I think that's kind of messed up, right? That's kind of messed up and should not be tolerated. So now, what are the homeless supposed to do when it's against the law to live? Yeah, again, we need to provide housing for everyone. Absolutely. So let's see here. Where are you streaming from? Yeah, he's streaming from Chicago, Warren. So anyway, so welcome to the Willy Bragg Show. This is going to be a combination of new drama on the right and old drama on the left. We'll start with this is what I saw from Crystal, Kyle, and friends, and I thought I'd go and comment on it. And it was mostly about Nick Fuentes turning against Donald Trump, and it turned into what I call a passive aggressive, jab at Jimmy Dore. And so what I'll do is I'm going to play you the video, and then I will go and comment on everything involved. So here we go. This video is called "Shut the Fuck Up." Nick Fuentes, Nick Fuentes is done with Trump. So here we go, and we'll let them take it away. So let me get the full screen up. Taken care of. Listen.
All right, and finally here, man. Nick Fuentes is a Nazi. Nobody needs. Don't get it twisted. He literally debated Alex Jones a year or two ago, where he took the position that Hitler was based, and Alex Jones had to be like, "No, he wasn't." Right, and so that's who this guy is. So don't get it twisted. But there's an interesting dynamic because he's really annoyed at Trump, pissed at Trump from his right.
Right.
And now all of the, Trumpisms are sort of grating on his nerves. So he's turned on him in a hilarious fashion. Watch the video.
Erica, shut up. I'm so, this kind of stuff was cute 10 years ago. It's not cute anymore. It's just stale. This little routine, this little act he does, it's really just insulting to our intelligence at this point. It was kind of kitschy and cute and a little funny in 2015, a decade ago. But now that he keeps doing this like obnoxious fucking bullshit, whatever this routine that he's doing is, I can't tell you how sick of it I am. I'm watching him today selling Teslas in front of the White House, and he says, I'm going to get in one of these suckers. Shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up. I'm so sick of that. I'm so sick of this weird fucking voice he's always doing, this weird jokey joke fucking gimmick. It's just stupid. It's just stupid and embarrassing and just fucking dumb. And I can't tell you how annoying it is now. I don't know if you guys feel the same way. Maybe you guys still think it's funny. I've been on the Trump train for 10 years.
He's annoyed, by the way. Just in case y'all didn't know, Nick Fuentes is apparently annoyed.
And it's like, I can't take it anymore. I feel like I'm going crazy. It's just like it's like a bad sitcom. It's like an insufferable sitcom character that does a funny gag and they just keep going every season and it gets more hammed up. It's like Jar Jar Binks. Trump has turned into like Jar Jar Binks of the Republican Party. He's in front of the White House. Should I get in this sucker? Shut the fuck up. What the fuck are you talking about? Can you talk normally?
Apparently, Nick Fuentes wants Donald Trump to shut the fuck up.
Can you just be fucking normal for like 10 seconds? Jeez. Like and 10 years ago, he was more normal. 10 years ago, there was like a little more, I don't know, like discretion, or I don't even know what you would call that, just like tact. 10 years ago, he was serious. He was intense. And he was a little bit funny sometimes. Now he's just always doing this weird, jokey voice, doing these weird, like, billions and billions. Like, dude, shut the fuck up. I can't stand it anymore. It's like just, and yeah, call it Trump derangement syndrome. It's more just like Trump annoyance syndrome. Like 10 years of this? Gosh, it's like a family member that says the same thing to you every day. It's like a best friend that has like a weird habit or something. That, or a colleague at work or a classmate doing the same thing day in, day out. Eventually you're like, I can't take it,
Okay, yeah. Nick Fuentes is apparently through with Trump. And Kyle and Chris are going to discuss it. Honestly, maybe about 90% of it is on point, but it's the 10% that I am going to take issue with. So we'll let them discuss it. But here's the thing. I'm going to give you my take on Nick Fuentes, what he's saying about Trump today versus 10 years ago. Never was a Trump fan, but he was more moderate 10 years ago than he is today. If anything, he's opposing Trump because Trump is not they're going to say it that Trump isn't fascist enough. So but he's going they're going to add to that discussion.
I enjoyed that thoroughly.
I like that it's like completely substanceless and like content free and not idealized. Just like, I just can't with this dude anymore.
I can give you the substance.
Okay.
He's pissed. He feels like they're not doing mass deportations.
Yeah.
Like he actually wants them to do mass deportations.
And he's an actual anti-Semite. But that means he's like pissed about the, crackdown, the alleged Marco Rubio like crackdown on quote unquote anti-Semitism, which of course is just like, they're cracking down on people who are critical of Israel.
Yeah.
So,
and he does, like, he focuses quite a bit on just how cucked Trump is to Israel, which to be fair, that's 100% true. But also his objection stems from legit anti-Semitism.
Yeah, he's got the right position for the wrong reason.
For the wrong reason, exactly.
It's just a fucking shame because Nick Fuentes is so talented. Like,
he's
you don't
funny.
have to
he's
be.
Funny.
Yeah, it's like you don't have to be a Nazi to be successful. Like, just don't.
He's not funny. He's a dork. Nick Fuentes is a dork. He's basically the alt-right version of Harry Simpson.
Don't be a Nazi. Just like actually have, like, if he had just actually had good politics, he still would have been wildly successful because he's talented.
You know what he reminds me of? He's like the Jimmy Dore of the right circa like 2018.
I had that same thought.
Because he's like, I'm the purist. I'm the most right wing. I'm the most Nazi. And I'm going to criticize this administration from the pure Nazi position. Right?
Yes.
But he's also entertaining, funny, right? And that was sort of like what Jimmy Dore was doing in 2018, where I'm holier than thou, purer than thou, and I'm going to rip the Democrats from the left.
Yeah.
But the thing is, now Jimmy Dore, he hyper focuses on Democrats and liberals and leftists and shits on them all the time and never shits on Republicans.
I'm going to say something about that. There are times I do think that Jimmy Dore could push back more on Republicans, and I that is absolutely true. And I'm not exactly the biggest Jimmy Dore fan in the world at this point. I'm going to say that, and I know that might piss off some people in this audience. I haven't turned against him. I'm just some of the guests that he has, I have no problem with the guests Jim has in general, except some guests he could push back on more that's obviously, are on the right. I don't have a problem with having right-wing guests. Have all the right-wing guests you want, but push back on them if you claim to be on the left. To have Matt Walsh on your show, and that's not a problem, and you're giving softer interview to you're being nicer to him than Cornel West. I've found that kind of problematic. Doesn't mean that Cornel West is correct on everything. It's just, if you're going to go and be respectful to Matt Walsh, you could have been respectful to Cornel West last year, even if you disagree with some things Cornel West had to say. That's my critique on Jimmy Dore there. I just want to lay that out. But I am bothered by the passive aggressive swipe at Jimmy Dore in a way that is unfair. There are legitimate criticisms against Jimmy Dore, but there are criticisms of Jimmy Dore that's not based on good faith. And I'm going to tell you why in a few minutes, why I think this is Kyle being passive aggressive and over this shit.
It'll be interesting if that's what happens in reverse with Nick Fuentes, where he only shits on the Republicans and Trump nonstop and almost gives people the misimpression that he's somehow more on the left. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, there's a little bit of that going on with Richard Hanania, who's like,
yeah, he's a weird one. He's a weird one.
Who, says he's not a Nazi anymore, but still very interested in quote unquote human capital.
Oh my God.
But does a lot of like shitting on Republicans in a way that makes you feel like he's almost a liberal. But,
right. Yeah.
Actually, I'm sorry I didn't play a clipping on the show of what Crystal just said. It just occurred to me. Back in 2008, I stumbled across a YouTube streamer from South Carolina. I'm trying to think of his name in real life. He calls himself the Southern Avenger. And he worked on the staff of Rand Paul a few years ago, about a decade ago. And he'll tell you that he's a libertarian. He'll tell you he's a paleo conservative or what have you. But he actually was in 2007, 2008, 2009, attacking Rush Limbaugh, attacking Sean Hannity, attacking Mark Levin, attacking Michael Savage, attacking Ann Coulter, and attacking them supposedly from a very conservative viewpoint, but it was on issues that kind of overlap with the liberals, with the warmongering rhetoric and everything. And he was lashing out at Bush and Cheney nonstop to the point that he sounded almost like he was left wing. And he was doing this from a conservative perspective. And it was just kind of unusual listening to him. I mean, it's like here's this guy who is like a neo-Confederatist, just lambasting this guy, the Republicans from the right. I mean, he was just so over the top that Mark Levin attacked him on his radio show. So it was kind of interesting, and I think that's kind of what what Crystal's getting at here. I don't know if she knows about the Southern Avenger, but that's what came to mind.
And then I think I haven't followed this trajectory as closely, but there's also a little bit of that going on, I think, with Richard Spencer.
Yeah, Richard Spencer, he's also a weird one. I believe his transition more stemmed from like literal legal problems, where he almost had to like snap into shape and be like, I'm not a Nazi. Actually, Nazism is cringe and bad.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, Hanania, that's an interesting one because he voted for Trump and talked about how he voted for Trump. But now all he does is shit on Trump and Trump supporters. And to your point, basically say these guys are fucking idiots. They don't understand anything.
Yeah.
Right. And so
and there is a left-wing understanding of this, because I think that pretty much most of us in 2016, and to some degree, maybe slightly less, but still many of us in 2020 were on the Bernie train. We were part of the Bernie movement. We were the Bernie bros, for you ladies, the Bernie broads, And the thing about it is that many of us criticize Bernie Sanders today, and justifiably so. Justifiably so for some of his shenanigans, his not standing up against Biden the way he needed to, and basically behaving just like a typical Democrat at times. And yes, we all agree. We agree Republicans are horrible. We agree all day long. There's nothing to disagree about. But the Democrats are not exactly, if Bernie if he claims who he is, and that's the hill he dies on ideologically, the Democratic Party is not aligned with the ideology of Bernie Sanders. And so therefore, I find it quite curious that he'll sit there, defend the Democrats, even, and never have anything to say really about your Joe Manchins and your Kirsten Cinemas. And thankfully they're gone, but there are others like them out there. Never had anything to say about these folks. But, at the same time, Trump is a sexist, racist, homophobic, blah, 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 blah. And look, fuck Trump. I agree. Fuck Donald Trump. Don't have any use for him. But you know what? At the same time, fuck Hillary Clinton and fuck Joe Biden too, and fuck Kamala Harris. Honestly, fuck them all. Fuck them all to hell. But it's when you can kind of consistently see everybody being assholes, people don't understand that mindset. So
it's a weird political
way, which is like
sort of,
from the right. He's making like a eugenics-based argument against Trump, sort of being like they're low IQ, and that's the problem.
Right,
it's like, well, they're problems, but like, yeah, let's
to
not
be fair,
be eugenicists.
Trump and Elon are very low IQ, for being honest. Not that that's the core of the issue.
Okay, we won't get into.
Yeah, we don't need it. We could talk about this for an hour.
Yeah, but anyway, I do feel like there might be.
Well, anyway, that was pretty much it as far as the situation referring to Nick Fuentes. And as I said, I do think that the passive aggressive comparison to Jimmy Dore is a little out of line. Now, in fairness, I've seen Jimmy Dore do quite a few attacks on Kyle Kulinski on his show. Again, out of line, and I got some criticisms of Kyle Kulinski. I got criticisms of Jimmy Dore. I got way more criticisms of the Young Turks than I do either Kyle Kulinski or Jimmy Dore. So that's kind of where I stand. And for me, I was one of those people for years that kind of looked at both Kyle and Jimmy as the best from the Young Turks when they were all part of the network. When we were all, just like our support for Bernie, we were all pretty much, there was a time people look at the Young Turks the same way that people get scared when you mention the name the Gray Zone today, as hard as it is to believe. Because they were considered, radical and subversive. I've heard Rush Limbaugh and Glenn Beck and all those fuckers occasionally make a jab at the Young Turks. But now the Young Turks are going softly MAGA, shall I say. It seems like that's the direction they're headed. If they're not headed into that Day Rubin pipeline, they're certainly headed into the Bill Maher pipeline, which that's in itself is bad enough. So so that's kind of where I stand. So let's go back to the beginning of where that passive aggressive situation comes from. And we're going to go back to the beginning to the year 2021 when I guess it was like in June of 2021 when Anna Kasparian decided to do her little meltdown. This is kind of where I felt like it all started.
Aaron Mate yelled at me.
Aaron Mate Aaron Mate. Everyone cares what Aaron Mate has to say, right? The guy who denies that Syrian children were killed with chemical attacks. Yeah.
And
Fuck
gets
Aaron
paid by
Mate.
the-
Yeah, fuck you.
Gets
Anyway,
paid
let's
by the
move on.
Russians.
Let's end the freaking pod. I can't.
Okay, see, that's what happened.
I can't stand
just saw.
that guy, and I can't stand the very intentional disinformation they put out there in regard to disgusting dictators around the world. The very people they seem to be working for, to be quite honest with you. Let's move on.
All right, we're done.
Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
And again, that was from 2021. That kind of was launched it all because Aaron Mate did his reporting about the chemical gas attacks in Syria, which I believe. I mean, how can you not believe Aaron Mate when it comes to chemical attacks in Syria? And how in the world can people view the rebels, the so-called moderate rebels back then, being better than Bashar al-Assad? Again, I'm not a fan of Bashar al-Assad, but it's just so damn easy to realize who is the lesser evil in such a conflict. And so, yes, I'm glad that Assad is safe in Russia. And I will say that again till the cows come home. I am glad that Assad is safe in Russia. I am glad that he's safe in Russia. And I feel sorry for the people of Syria that has to endure a theocratic state because of the stupidity of U.S. foreign policy. It's not the first time the United States has been stupid on foreign policy, and criminally so. I mean, look at what happened when the Soviets went into Afghanistan in the 1980s. And no, I'm not a tanky. I'm not a Leninist or what have you. But there were conflicts around the world when the Cold War was going on, where the Soviets were the force for good, and in Afghanistan was one of them. Their influence in Central America was another one. What have you. So I mean, so there were areas around the world where they were a force for good, and I will not apologize for that. Even if it's not my particular socialism that I endorse, I am objective enough to know that there were places and there were conflicts around the world where they were an actual force for good. Vietnam was a force for good in the sense that they removed the Khmer Rouge that the U.S. indirectly backed. And I was watching a documentary on the killing fields today, and just the way the U.S. responded was just terrible in that conflict, and because they cannot think of the name of the monarch that was ousted out of Cambodia, but he formed an alliance with Pol Pot, and the Chinese supported Pol Pot, and the U.S. supported the monarch, and so they were working together against Vietnam, who had backing from the Soviet Union, at least moral backing, for what I can understand. But anyway, just wanted to drop that as an example. U.S. to this day, the U.S. attitude toward Cuba is the most stupid and criminally evil foreign policy thing one can imagine. And we need to drop all sanctions against Cuba right now. So anyway, that's beside the subject there. So let's go ahead and I'm going to go play an old video. This is from Kyle Kulinski. And I'm going to play a clip from Jimmy Dore, and I'll comment some more on this. That basically an old feud that kind of sparked the response that he had. So this is from, well, here it is. We go.
So this segment is being recorded pretty late at night. I actually didn't have the time to prep a normal show for you all. I was going to prep a normal show for you all, but then a giant wrench got thrown into those plans because there was a little bit of Twitter drama that unfolded. There were some passive-aggressive shots that were taken at me. I didn't take kindly to that. And so now I feel like my hand is being forced, and I have to weigh in on an issue that I don't want to weigh in on. So I'm a little cranky. I'm a little tired. I don't really want to be doing this segment, but now I feel like I have to do this segment. Because of the timing of all this, it has fucked up the potential for a normal show tomorrow, which is a shame because I'm going to have to hop in my car and go to DC, and I don't have enough time to prep and do a show and get all that stuff taken care of. But anyway, enough on the backstory and the current.
That was before Crystal and Kyle exposed to the world their relationship. So he wanted to get down to DC, probably to go over there and you know, and fuck her before the show for Crystal, Kyle, and friends.
Current situation. Let's dive into it. So obviously, I'm going to talk here about the drama between Jimmy Dore and Aaron Mate versus the Young Turks. So I just want to reiterate, I don't want to do this segment. I don't want to talk about it. I've bent over backwards to stay out of this fight. Now, some of you might not like that. I don't care. I don't care. I'll never hide a single thing from any of you when it comes to policy. But when it comes to personal shit, I don't want to get involved in it, and I want to stay out of it. And that's always how I've been. That's always how I will be. I'm an introvert. I hate drama. This is some fucking drama shit, and I want nothing to do with it. So, the reasons why I want nothing to do with this, number one, it's obvious. Jimmy, Jenk, and Anna are all personal friends of mine. So it puts me.
And they all fuck you over, Kyle. And you were acting very butthurt for about 2 years after this shit. You were acting butthurt over 2 years of this shit that Shank and Anna were no longer, you know, having anything to do with you, and that Jimmy Dore had nothing to do with you and everything. And honestly, I'm just like, dude, get over it. Get over it. You know, just go on with your life, you know? I mean, don't worry about what, you know, how they supposedly mistreated you or what have you. Just go on with your life. But you didn't do that. You're just like, they're still mad at me. They won't have anything to do with me. So what?
Me in a really weird place. Now, you can pretend like that's not a good reason, but you all know it's a good reason, and you all know if you were in my shoes, you'd feel the exact same way. But the second reason is probably the more important reason, which is it's ugly and it's personal, which is all the more reason for me to stay out of this. And by the way, I should also add, I'm speaking on behalf of Crystal as well here, because she also has desperately wanted to try to stay out of this. But clearly I can't. She's somehow managed to still not have to really dive into it, at least as much as I'm about to right now. All right, so we're going to break this down. Everybody understand, and please, for the love of God, listen to every word that I'm going to say here. Don't listen to parts of it and then get triggered and then shut it off and fucking freak out or whatever. He's not on my team and he fucking tweeted him. I'm not going to read your shit. Everybody calm the fuck down. There are two separate conversations we're going to have here. There are policy conversations and there's personal conversations. Two separate ones. It's not all the same. It's not all the same. There's policy stuff and there's personal stuff. Saying that up front. So I'm only weighing in here because I've been dragged in. I have to give you my take now on every little aspect of this. And so that's what we have to do. Let's bring the timeline back. It wasn't always like this between Jimmy and TYT. You don't believe me? Take a look.
Lo and behold, the Young Turks opened up their door to me, and I walked in. And we've been working together ever since. And I remember Steve-O was there, and I met Anna that first time, and JR. And it was, you know, I was so, you know, it was such a fun place to be. And so I was real thrilled and flattered that they invited me to be part of their group. And one of the funnest times of my life was the Bernie Sanders campaign. And so I just want to thank Cenk Uygur and everybody at TYT for including me. I've been blessed with good people in my career. And, you know, it was a real stroke of luck that I was able to work with the Young Turks and Cenk Uygur. So good luck to them going forward. And again, I hope we can come together and work on something in the future.
All right, so Jimmy Dore has exited the building, and I think that a lot of you probably have seen his video talking about that. And he used to host Progressive, this show, along with the Jimmy Dore show. And so first thing I'd like to say is, I love Jimmy Dore. And I always have, and I hope that I always will. And so it's certainly not anything personal at all. And we had wonderful, wonderful moments on the air with Jimmy throughout a great number of years here at the Young Turks.
Okay, I'm gonna say something about that. When I used to watch the Young Turks, Jimmy Dore on the panel was always and I will say this to this day, any difference I have with Jimmy Dore today, I will always say that Jimmy Dore was on the main show when he was up there with Shank, Anna, Ben Mankiewicz, and some of the others. On the panel, he was always the one that provided like the most impassioned, talking points, for the lack of trying to find a better term for it. What he had to say, basically, he was the one who always had the best take on things. That's probably a better way to put it. And sometimes they just couldn't quite understand it. And I'm just like, no, that is a consistently good left take, and to Jimmy Dore's credit, he did change Shank's mind on a couple of issues. Shank Uger used to be a Republican, and he was in favor of the death penalty. And Jimmy Dore did change his position on the death penalty to being against the death penalty. And that was just an example of a few issues here and there that I am aware of where Jimmy Dore was a positive, a net positive for the network. Again, some of Jimmy's takes after the Young Turks, I'm not as receptive to. That doesn't mean that everything he says is garbage. I would choose him over the Young Turks now. But as I said, I've been hearing Kyle's take a whole lot in the last few years. He's been taking some garbage takes too. And honestly, when neither, even now, when they're both, they don't like each other, but when they're both not saying anything that's garbage related and they're both on point on whatever issue, they have very good takes. Kyle's problem today is that he thinks that the ultimate answer is to work within the Democratic Party to do that hostile takeover that he himself said the Justice Democrats project was a failure. Now, I agree with Jimmy Dore that the Democratic Party is absolute garbage. The way he argues about it is sometimes that the Republicans are at times better. It gives you that impression, whether it's correct or not. And that's kind of bothers me because, we know that the Democrats are not going to do anything. But at the same time, when you beat up on the Democrats more than the Republicans, overall, still the Democrats are better than Republicans on a few basic issues, even now. But they're both garbage. The Democrats and Republicans are garbage. So I disagree. I disagree with Kyle's take that the Democrats is the ultimate answer. And I disagree with Jimmy Dore sometimes being more angry at the Democrats than he needs to be. Anger at the Democrats is justified. But, to the point where you give the impression that the Republican Party is to the left, no, I don't agree with that. Never will agree with that. But there needs to be a way to articulate these things and be consistently on the left and say fuck off to the two-party duopoly.
That is what I call a love fest. That is what I call people who have deep admiration and respect for each other. That wasn't that long ago. So since then, I don't want to paint an overly rosy picture. Of course, there have been disagreements. There have been deep disagreements about Syria and Russia and force the vote and other things. But at that time, we were sort of at the peak of Russiagate, and I know, because I know all these people personally, that the Russiagate thing bothered Jimmy just as much off air as it did on air. He felt like it sort of ruined friendships, and he couldn't believe that there were people who were falling for that bullshit.
And you kind of you were on the same boat with Jimmy Dore on Russiagate, and to be critical of Russiagate then was the correct position. It is still correct to be against Russiagate. And Kyle, they did call you Kremlin Kyle for a while. They did. There were people who were your detractors that call you Kremlin Kyle because they felt like you were sympathetic to Russians. And basically saying that this backing this proxy war in the last few years makes you pro-Russian. That's bullshit. It doesn't make you pro-Russian. It makes you pro-peace to oppose NATO. And it really just, your take on backing the Biden administration, although it was a soft take compared to some other liberals out there, was to go and give them this amount of weapons and then say you're on your own and do it in a way which won't provide arms indirectly to neo-Nazis. Well, it's going to end up in the hands of neo-Nazis anyway. It ended up in the hands of neo-Nazis. And that is something that people, if you're a good progressive, you should realize that. And unfortunately, there are many good progressives who has a blind spot on that issue. I don't have an issue with them being opposed to Russia invading the Ukraine, but to make the Ukraine government the bad guy, the good guys, I don't. The only thing that Trump did so far while he was president that I actually halfway said he was base was when he berated Zelensky a few weeks ago. That had my support 100% because Zelensky right now is the obstacle to peace between Russia and the Ukraine. And it's not unreasonable to say Ukraine under any circumstances should be a member of NATO, and maybe some of the Russian areas of what is now the Ukraine, for the sake of those Russians living there, to not suffer the fate that Palestinians suffer from in Gaza by Israel. So,
and so the more TYT would cover it, the more angry he would get. And then what would happen is Jimmy would go on air and do his show, and he would never directly or overtly call out the Young Turks at that time, but there would be little pot shots here and there about how, other lefty shows are not, telling you the truth about this Russiagate thing. And so that went on for a long time. I think at some point, eventually, somebody at TYT caught wind of the fact that Jimmy was taking shots at them. And, that led Anna to go on Twitter and basically say something along the lines of, I think Jimmy's a grifter and I don't think he's an honest actor. I don't agree with Anna on that. She said that. It was fucked up. But as soon as I read that tweet, I said, here we go. This shit is about to get nuclear because Jimmy Dore has one gear and that gear is nuclear. And I was exactly right. So Jimmy sort of went nuclear a little bit there. Now, it didn't really get irreparable until force the vote. That's when it became irreparable. Now, to this point, on the substance, I'm with Jimmy so far. So when it comes to Syria, when it comes to Russia, when it comes to Russiagate, when it comes to force the vote, none of this is a secret. You guys have seen all my fucking segments. You know where I fall on those policy issues. It's the most obvious thing in the world. But now we get to this new round where the war has ramped up, and it really is a war now. So this recent round all started with this video from the Young Turks talking about Aaron Mate in their postgame.
They said Aaron Mate yelled at me. And so
Aaron Mate, Aaron Mate, everyone cares what Aaron Mate has to say, right? The guy who denies that Syrian children were killed with chemical attacks. Yeah.
And gets paid by the,
fuck you. Anyway, let's move on. Let's end the freaking pod. I can't.
Okay, see, that's what happened.
I can't stand that guy. And I can't stand the very intentional disinformation they put out there in regard to disgusting dictators around the world. The very people they seem to be working for, to be quite honest with you. Let's move on.
All right, we're done.
Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
And here's the thing. I could continue playing the Kyle video, but you get the gist what's going on there. It was there was some policy issues of disagreements that caused friction between TYT and Jimmy Dore. And it was, and what people said about force the vote, from the perspective of Jimmy Dore is true. A lot of people oppose forced to vote because they didn't like Jimmy Dore, as if Jimmy Dore came up with the idea. Jimmy Dore never came up with the idea of forced to vote. He made it as a suggestion. It came from a DSA handbook that came out in 2019 on how to deal with, having leverage to get what you need. Right there, leverage to get leverage to make sure that Americans can have nice things like other countries have nice things that's taken for granted. Universal health care, labor rights, paid vacation time, generous pension system, paid parental leave, the safety net that's truly a safety net in other societies, whereas here everything is means tested to death. So, and it was a perfect time. The pandemic, employer-based insurance proved it was a farce. You had people who were not insured. There was an opportunity to basically put the Democrats on the spot and force them to do the right thing. Because for many years, it was always ifs, ands, or buts about universal health care, how to go about it. And once the United States tried it, what did the Democrats do? They put up a Heritage Foundation plan, which was bullshit. And look, force of vote has been proven to work on many cases. Even with Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, there was an act of force of vote that was successful that made Obamacare worse, and that was fucking Joe Lieberman of Connecticut. I hope he rots in hell, because he said that he would not support the Affordable Care Act if it includes a public option. Fuck Joe Lieberman. Fuck the late Joe Lieberman for that. Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin used force to vote to destroy Build Back Better, which would have been the biggest domestic economic policy plan since the New Deal. And Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin destroyed it with their leverage. Fuck Joe Manchin. Fuck Kirsten Sinema. As much, and I've said this before, as much as I dislike Matt Gaetz politically, he and the Anti-Freedom Caucus in the Republican House, in the U.S. House of Representatives, basically did to Kevin McCarthy what the Squad was supposed to do to Nancy Pelosi. The Anti-Freedom Caucus basically turned Kevin McCarthy into their little bitch. And he capitulated and gave them what they wanted. Force of vote works. But AOC and the rest of the Squad at the time were too chicken shit to do this. I didn't give up on the Squad at that point. I figured, man, that sucks. That was a big time supporter of force of vote. I was like, man, that sucks. But maybe they know something that we in the outside don't know. And we never had anything. Joe Biden didn't do jack shit about healthcare in this country. Kamala Harris will hardly touch, she said something, some vague platitudes about Medicare. But it was really nothing. And, so Jimmy Dore was right when it came to the force of vote. If there's one thing I will respect about Jimmy Dore, that whatever problems I may have occasionally with him, he barely knows who I am. But what I'm saying is that whatever is problematic about Jimmy Dore to this day, he was 100 million% correct on force of vote. So much so that Sam Cedar was like, maybe we have to give it a try. I mean, I'm paraphrasing him. And so he was receptive to the idea. Then he decided to be against it. So and you know who your leftists are on the podcast world, on the online left. Those who supported Force the Vote, they were the ones who were not just talking the talk; they were willing to walk the walk. And I'll give Kyle Kulinski credit for that, because he and Crystal Ball supported Force the Vote. The Humanist Report supported Force the Vote. The Gray Zone supported Force the Vote. Jordan Sheridan supported Force the Vote. Jen Perlman, Peter Hager from Generational Change, they supported Force the Vote. She had supported Force the Vote. So, I mean, there were a lot of people who supported Force the Vote, that out there. And so, who they were. Combo Couch supported Force the Vote. So, who your real leftists are, and even the people I just mentioned in the last 2 minutes here, then and now they all have some disagreements amongst themselves. But the thing about it is, they were correct. All of them were correct policy-wise to be outraged that we did not do Force the Vote. So, and that's what it came down to. But getting back to the drama, I'll play this last segment here. This is from Jimmy Dore, referring to what happened with Anna Kasparian. And Max Blumenthal from the Gray Zone is here too. So we'll play that and I'll comment.
All for it. They always are. And if you debunk a pro-war narrative, they will smear you like they did. And now they're so desperate. She's saying that he had harassed her. Watch this. She did this to me. She said a DM to me last night. The last DM she sent me was April 14, 2016. Watching you guys kick ass right now. That was her last DM to me. But here's how she's trying to threaten me. And I'll tell you why this is a big mistake on her part. She says, I'm sure you remember when you constantly made inappropriate comments about how sexy you found me at work, and even felt the need to ask me where I shop for my jeans so you can buy a pair for your wife so she dresses better.
Thank you.
That was followed by an apology card you wrote me for the degrading harassment. I've been holding back, letting you run your mouth nonstop as if you're some sort of warrior for what's good in the world. That's going to change. So now she's, instead of saying I paid by the Russians or saying I'm working for Assad, she's now going to try to pretend I sexually harassed her when I was at the Young Turks. So I remember I did ask her about, I wanted to buy a pair of jeans like that for my wife. Apparently that's offensive to her. I don't know if you ever watched the Young Turks, but all they talk about in the second hour when I used to be there was the most outrageous sex stories in the world. So, and I mean, I don't want to have to tell you that Cenk literally sat next to Hannah and said if he was in government, he would make it legal for people to have sex with animals. He literally said that. I'm not making that up. That people tweeted that video out. So they've said that they wanted to be Howard Stern. Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian, they wanted to do the Howard Stern show, and they did for years. So now she has to make it up because we're coming at her on her journalism. So we're calling out her journalism and her McCarthyite smears, and this is how she responds. And I'll tell you this story. The story about that was followed by an apology card you wrote me for a degrading harassment. Anna Kasparian used to dress when I worked there unbelievably inappropriately for a newsroom. She looked like she was going to a rave. The skirt, one time she came into the newsroom with a skirt so short. It wasn't a pencil skirt. It was like a fluffy one too, but so short that she bent over in front of me and I literally saw her ass and her thong. She's wearing a thong. I literally saw it. Everybody saw it. And I go, hey, Anna, nice news skirt. And everybody laughed. Like they laughed louder than I thought they would. And so it humiliated her. She got humiliated in the middle of the newsroom. And I did it. And I felt bad. At that time, we were friendly. And I was just busting her balls, right? For dressing like that in a newsroom. You're going to bend over and show me your ass? I think that's a little, I'm not offended, but I think that's a little risque. Imagine if I did that, if I walked around showing my ass to everybody. So when I did that, so she got really mad. She got humiliated. Her face turned red. She tried to insult me back and it just fell flat and she looked, bad. And I felt bad for her. I didn't want to make her feel that, but I just wanted to make a little joke. And all I said was, "Hey, Anna, nice news skirt," and everybody in the newsroom, because everybody saw how inappropriate she used to dress, and everybody saw it. And so that's why I got such a huge laugh, and she was so humiliated. So I felt bad for her. So the next day I wrote her a card saying, "Hey, I'm sorry. I won't do that again. That was inappropriate. You don't have to worry about that happening again. I won't comment on your clothes anymore." I should have said, no matter how fucking ridiculous.
You mean you'll stop commenting on her thong?
On her thong that I could see. This is how low they're stooping now, Max. She's gonna try and gin up some kind of bullshit like this, some kind of hashtag Me Too against me. And what she doesn't realize is that she's revealing that the reason why she's coming forward with some kind of accusation isn't because it bothered her and it was true and that she was traumatized, and that she's trying to get back at me because I'm telling the world about their poor journalism. So she's literally, I'm going to fucking hashtag Me Too you because of what you're saying about my journalism. That's not how it's supposed to work. That's not supposed to be a retaliation for someone critiquing your work. I'm going to hashtag Me Too you for fucking, that's not how it's supposed to work. So you kind of screwed the pooch there. But good luck. Good luck. I'm sure you'll get some shit libs to retweet it for you. But I don't have a manager and I don't have a human resource department. So let's bring in Max now. Max, where would you like to take the conversation?
Yeah, this isn't really where I thought the conversation was going to go. I don't have the same history with these people. So I have no problem with Anna Kasparian's style of dress.
Let's talk to
we don't have a dress code at the Gray Zone. People can show up however they want. I do have a problem with this campaign of McCarthyite lies. And honestly, like, I'm even hesitant to get in the gutter with these people. I mean, looking at her tweets today, and they also, they're directed at me, and everyone's a Russian agent.
Everybody's a Russian.
It really is like a trashy suburbanite version of the Steele dossier. It's like just so gutter level and so base level. And what basically happened here is so juvenile. Basically, she and Cenk got caught trashing Aaron in not just a McCarthyite way, but a slanderous, false way. The same way so many people have been slandered for the last 4 or 5 years since Russiagate became this mainstream phenomenon. And anyone who went against the official narrative or anyone affiliated with Trump was colluding with Russia, and this all became acceptable. She got caught. Aaron wasn't supposed to see that. And basically, I saw some tweet by someone who was actually, trying to hype it up, like, based Anna Kasparian. And Aaron saw it, so he called them out. He responded, as it was his right to do. And now it's ballooned into this. For her, it just seems like a desperate attempt to defend her reputation. And what she's doing, in effect, in an objective sense, is she is manufacturing consent for a dirty war that she doesn't understand. She clearly doesn't even know the basic facts of it. And replicating and extending the whole paranoid, sick McCarthyite narrative of Russiagate to attack independent media and accuse us all of being Russian agents. And so it's just like getting at such a gutter base level with people who are operating on such a primitive mindset, when what we should be talking about are the issues that Aaron and I went to Syria to help expose for Americans, because this is where the sausage is made. This is where the decision is made to starve the entire Syrian population through the Caesar sanctions, so that now the World Food Program finds that 56% of Syrians are food insecure. They don't have enough food for the day. We want to talk about oil tankers from Iran going to provide Syria with basic fuel because no one else is allowed to under these sanctions, and they're getting torpedoed by the Israelis. We want to talk about the U.S. troops that are occupying 1/3 of Syria, its northeast region, a totally devastated region where half the city of Raqqa was destroyed by U.S. bombs to extricate the Islamic State group, which took over that city thanks to the U.S. campaign in Iraq. We want to talk about the U.S. troops that have taken over the wheat fields and the oil wells that are literally guarding oil wells around Deir ez-Zor in northeastern Syria to starve Syrians to death and deprive them of having an economy.
And basically, everything that Max Blumenthal said right there was true. And this is how the Young Turks became, just joined the establishment. I guess that Katzenberg money sort of dictated to the Young Turks to move into that corporate centrist direction. And because of that, the Young Turks, they're basically just a step below, I'm not going to say below, a step above, a tiny step above Pod Save America. it's just kind of like that's where they're at right now, and so and there's as I said I more or less I believe Jimmy Dore's story on how it happens because again and I don't believe in harassment or what have you, but sometimes people say the wrong thing, and I think he probably stuck his foot in his mouth, and he pretty much admitted it that he did. And so I noticed that even before he left the Young Turks, that he had a kind of a hostile attitude toward him. So anyway, I'm just kind of just wanted to talk about this. This is the old drama that's been rehashed. And so that's kind of overall why Kyle Kulinski did the little passive aggressive dig at Jimmy Dore, because I mean he's mad at Jimmy Dore. And I think that Shank and Anna did kind of reconcile with Kyle, but be nice to see Kyle put a little pushback on the Young Turks since Shank is hanging out with what's his name, Charlie Kirk from Toilet Paper USA, and that Anna Kasparian's now best buds with Ben Shapiro. I mean, what the fuck is that about? Don't call Jimmy Dore right wing when Shank, you want to go and give just pal around with Charlie Kirk, and Anna Kasparian, you want to go and pal around with tiny little Ben Shapiro, because hanging out talking to Tucker Carlson, at least when he goes on Tucker Carlson when he was on Fox News, it was never about the right-wing issue. It was the issues where there was overlap, anti-war stuff, pro-Julian Assange, that sort of thing. And the Young Turks were never really on board with Julian Assange. Jimmy Dore was. So was Kyle Kulinski. I'll give him credit still on that one. But that's what it's about. It's basically just old drama being rehashed. And I just wanted to go and give my spin on that. But what spawned this video, this discussion was Nick Fuentes being through with Trump. So, and Nick Fuentes is a joke, and maybe this is something that we should all agree on. I mean, whether you're Kyle Kulinski, whether you're Jimmy Dore, whether you're Young Turks, if the Young Turks are still on the left, if they didn't go on if they're not officially on Dave Rubin's route. She still believes that the Young Turks are on the left. Nick Fuentes, that's the problem. The drama that we see here on the online left, that's got to stop. I'm not exactly being helpful, but I do think that I do think I needed to go and give my little spin on it as well. So anyway, just wanted to go and mention these things. I have to grab a bite to eat, but I will talk to everyone here before I go. Chuck's Intergalactic UFO Show. My good friend, CT to Bernie B. Sanders. Yep. And I've gone Emerald. Yeah. So it's St. Patrick's Day was a few days ago, but why not? Why not? Peace Dub, how are you doing? He said, "What? Who's that? Did Willy dye his hair green on St. Patrick's Day?" It's brown, dark brown. It's the green shirt that makes it look green. Sometimes when I dyed my hair, it looks blue, purple, that sort of thing. So see if there's anybody else. I don't want to leave anyone out. Snipe Hunter says, "Hello, how are you doing today?" And Earl Laurel, you're here. How are you doing? Thanks, Willy. You're here. I'm glad to see you here. So, Earl, if I'm on my way to Wilmington, I will have to find out. I'll have to drop by CD Alley to see you if you're there. So, tell Fred I said hello, by the way. So. And hey, Stephanie, how are you doing today? So, anyway, so I'm going to conclude that you can see what the drama's all about. It's rehashed drama there. So, if you like what you heard, please press like and comment. Comment any ways you disagree. We'll have conversation. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As the First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it because we are, in fact, the muckrakers of our time. Subscribe to the Willy Bragg Show. And remember to free and pardon Ed Snowden. Free Palestine, free healthcare for all, and fight to keep the First Amendment alive. Free speech preservation. Free speech for our own preservation, shall I say. And until next time, folks, fuck Nick Fuentes. Y'all take care. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.